Right now from Officer.com. Very pleased to have with us editor Frank Borelli. Frank, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Cam. How are you doing today?
You know, it is a beautiful day. It is election day. I got a chance to exercise my my vote, and I feel good about it.
That's a good thing. It's not election day in Maryland, where I'm headquartered, and I'd probably feel better if I could vote about something today, but things are going better in Maryland. I can't complain. I'm glad you got to exercise your right to vote. It's one of the most important things we can do.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you're right. Things are going better. Martin O'Malley's not holding office in Maryland at the moment, and, that's a big step forward right there.
It is. And the governor we have, Larry Hogan's doing an awesome job in spite of having cancer, for God's sake. And Maryland's a test bed to prove to the whole country that Martin O'Malley shouldn't be elected president. So, good marks all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, listen, let's talk about something that has been making headlines, perhaps at Officer.com, and certainly among police officers. I think they are well aware around the country of the comments that Quentin Tarantino made back on October 24th at a protest in New York. When referring to police officers, he said, quote, "When I see murders, I do not stand by. I have to call a murder, and I have to call the murderers the murderers." Frank, can you kind of describe what the reaction from law enforcement around the country has been to these comments?
Not with clean language on the radio, no, Cam, I really can't. Anger, frustration, disappointment. This guy, he makes some movies that a lot of people like. Police officers never really had a problem with the violence that are in his movies. It's obviously Hollywood. To have him come out with a voice that is so far-reaching in today's society and refer to police officers, or at least imply, at a bare minimum, that police officers are murderers, that's distressing. It's one of those things where you just have to scratch your head and wonder, what was the man thinking? It's bothersome, to put it mildly.
Well, the Rap.com says that after a week of silence and rising political outrage, Quentin Tarantino has let colleagues know he intends to apologize for his comments, calling police officers murderers. He has a new movie coming out, Frank, Hateful Eight.
You think he's
right?
worried about the profits it might or might not make with what's going on?
I think he might be. And so to that end, I wonder, given that he has this new movie coming out, given that one might suspect that this would be a less than sincere apology. We don't even know what form the apology would take. It might be one of those "I'm sorry if you were offended by anything I said" apologies, which is a non-apology. What do you think the likely reaction of the law enforcement community will be?
Honestly, there's always in every community, law enforcement, general society, whatever, there's always those people that no matter what he says, they're not going to forgive him, they're not going to forget him, they're going to continue to boycott all his stuff no matter what. There's that segment. Now, there's another segment that, depending on what he has to say, if he takes a podium someplace and he says, look, here's what I actually meant. This is what I said. I wasn't trying to ever call every cop in the world a murderer. Here's what I was trying to articulate. And he clarifies something somewhere. Maybe he has a hope of earning back some respect. Maybe he has a chance to try to mend the wound, if you will. But, he's committed kind of, it's not a crime, but this wronging of law enforcement using his name, his position, and his voice to call cops murderers is very far-reaching, and you can't throw that fishing line out there and reel it back in real fast. There is a deep-seated anger, frustration, sense of insult that's attached to this. He's going to have to work hard to overcome, and no matter what he says, I think the boycotts are going to last. I think there's going to be that, hey, you said what you said. You can take it back all you want, but we'll see how you act in the future. And it's going to take a year, 2, 3 of him being pro-police before this gets, I don't want to say forgotten, but forgiven is a better word.
Talking with Frank Borelli of Officer.com, and I suspect that you're right. Frankly, this has become so big. National Association of Police Organizations getting involved with this last Friday, saying, quote, "We ask officers to stop working special assignments or off-duty jobs. such as providing security, traffic control, or technical advice for any of Tarantino's projects. And, it's interesting, Frank, that if that heartfelt apology were coming, it could have been made, right? It could have been made the next day. It could have been made the first time Quentin Tarantino saw his remarks in print and thought to himself, that was bad. That really wasn't what I was intending to convey at all.
You're right.
But it hasn't. This story at the Wrap also points out Jamie Foxx on Sunday.
Don't get me started.
I know.
Here's a man who is notoriously racist, who went on record talking about how fun it was to kill all those white people in a Quentin Tarantino movie, no less. And he's going to stand up and say Tarantino's a good guy and stand by your guns and don't let these cops pressure you into giving it.
Keep telling the truth and don't worry about none of the haters.
Here's the honest-to-God truth. And this is coming from me, 33 years as a law enforcement officer. Everybody in the world makes mistakes. Everybody in the world is capable, and I truly believe this because we're human beings and we're capable of evil in our hearts. All of us are capable in the right circumstances of murder. But I don't believe for a single second that cops go out on the street and feel like they have a license to kill or that any of them are looking to kill people. Every cop I know that's ever pulled the trigger wishes he could take it back, wishes that he hadn't been in circumstances that demanded he do that to save his own life or somebody else's life. And when idiots like Tarantino, and yes, Mr. Tarantino, I called you an idiot on public radio, they spout this hoo-ha and they think that for some reason they can stand in judgment of all of the men and women in law enforcement that go out and risk their lives, and then we have to face his wrath. We have to answer to him. He makes a mistake, a few $1,000s don't get made, maybe $1 million. We make mistakes and people die. When will people like that get it? Or maybe they never will, and I'm just tilting against the wind.
Well,
I want you to know I'm proud I didn't cuss like a sailor in that swing there.
I am proud of you. I am proud of you, Frank. And listen, we're on pretty late on Sirius XM Patriot, but we do have, kids listening in the car. Parents will play the podcast back and forth, and so we do have some tender ears. I learned that the hard way when we were talking about the sex toy protest at the against campus carry at the University of Texas Austin. But that's a story for another time. But I am proud of you for keeping your language, and I feel the frustration. Here's the thing: Quentin Tarantino could be a guy. Maybe he's not maybe he's not just capable of being this guy. But there are individuals in Hollywood who I think are more than capable of saying exactly what you just said, right? That look, not everybody. First of all, nobody's an angel. Nobody's perfect. Everybody is human. But the men and women who work in law enforcement, look, you don't do that job as a career if service is not important to you. I truly believe that. Because I don't think
I agree with you.
I don't think you can do that job for 20, 30 years if serving the community is not important to you.
No, especially not in the environment we have today, where people are attacking cops at every turn and we're being criticized. If you think about it, the only positive stories you see today about law enforcement are the ones where the officer in D.C. has a dance-off with a teenager, and that's the competition. If this teenager has an issue, we have a dance contest, okay? Mm-hmm. You have the police officers that help push a guy's car out of traffic, police officers that buy a homeless guy coats. Cops are out here doing all this great stuff that we used to call social work, and cops have done that forever. We really have. I can't tell you how many meals I paid for people simply didn't have money to buy their own, and I didn't want them to shoplift. There's an easy answer. Here's $3. Let's go get something. But in today's environment, for police officers to not walk away, they have to have a real dedication to the job, and they don't just do this job. They live this job because they're never off duty. And we get reminded of that when we see these off-duty officers that end up dead because they're cops. They weren't in a uniform. They weren't answering a call. They weren't out there, quote-unquote, doing the job. They were police officers. It's a part of who we are. And we get targeted that more today than ever before in my lifetime. And guys like Tarantino simply aren't helping the issue. If he wants to make it good, he needs to make a public statement that says, those were the words I said. That was not the meaning I wanted to convey. Here's what I was trying to say. And then say effectively, look, nobody's perfect. When the mistake happens, we need to call the mistake out. But when the mistake isn't made, we need to be appreciative. These men and women sacrifice in ways we can't ever understand. Then he'll start healing wounds. Then we'll start listening to him again.
Frank Borelli, editor at Officer.com. Listen, thank you, sir, for coming on the program, and hoping we can do this again very soon.
Thanks for letting me rant, Cam. I appreciate it.
Anytime, buddy. We'll talk
Have a good
again.
one.
Frank Borelli with us here on NRA News, Cam and Company.